Stop me if you've heard this one before. A crushing threat takes hold and all hope seems lost, but then he arrives. The hero is here and you can finally relax because you know that with him, everything will be okay. It's a trope that's constantly used in Dragon Ball, specifically with Goku, and has been somewhat of a sticking point with fans. Many consider it an overplayed trope that diminishes Goku's character as nothing more than a plot device, and while they've explained their viewpoint fairly well, I completely disagree. Yes, the trope is used a considerable amount of times throughout the series' run, and I can understand why some would find it repetitive, but I just love the way Toriyama uses them to show character growth and builds off of them to enhance or subvert them in later arcs. To really see what I mean here, we need to go over the various instances this trope is used and see how differences in context and expectations paint the overall mood of the piece. Starting with the first two instances of this trope, Goku's rematch against Tao Pai Pai and King Piccolo. If you're looking at the moments on their own, the two are basically identical. Goku has just come out of Karin Tower and has just barely come in time to save his friend. If you look at the tone of these two scenes, however, you can see a clear difference. With Tao Pai Pai, Goku is a happy, energetic child just trying to do good, and treats his match almost like a game. Against Piccolo, though, he isn't playing around, and this is made instantly clear when he just straight up murders Drum. He's out for blood to avenge his friend, and even if he's left with just one arm, he won't stop until he gets it. And it's this contrast of Goku's previous happy-go-lucky nature compared to his intense personal investment here that makes this moment so engaging. The next two instances of this are where I feel Toriyama starts mixing the structure up and utilizing this trope to a much greater effect. In the prior two moments, the trope is played fairly straight, but here, Goku doesn't make it on time. Not only are Tenshinhan, Chaozu, and Yamcha dead as a result, but Piccolo is as well, meaning they can't even revive those who have fallen. Goku's hero moment, while still a display of his newfound strength, isn't so much a hero moment as it is a failure. What could have been a triumphant and comforting part of the story is now hollow and depressing. The most he can really do is save those who are left and avenge his fallen friends. Which he does so in a calm and controlled demeanor. Unlike the Piccolo arc where he just let his anger consume him entirely, here you can see the immense amount of control he has, not simply killing Nappa outright like he did with Drum. It's a good way of showing just how mature and focused he's become as an adult. Moving on from his failure on Earth, we arrive on Namek. This particular moment is one I've seen the most criticism for, and I can't help but feel a little bit upset by that. I know people point to the same pose Goku makes when he defeats Buddha as a sticking point, but I especially love that bit. Let me explain. Since the very start of the Frieza arc, it was made entirely clear that Gohan and Krillin are out of their league here. The entire time on Namek, they needed to hide their power level and sneak their way through enemies in order to survive. So when they're finally put into a corner with the Ginyu Force and get one of the most brutal beatings of a lifetime, you can't help but think of the last time this happened, which is what makes this moment and callback panels so great. What if Goku doesn't make it on time? What if Gohan and Krillin die? The expectation set by the previous arc is what makes his triumph here so much more satisfying and relieving. This is why I love this callback panel so much. It's like the story is cheekily making fun of me here, like, did you really think this was going to play out like last time? You worry too much. It's at this point we go to Goku's fifth hero moment, and while the hate for this one is a lot more understandable, I also get where Toriyama is coming from. Ever since Kaio told Goku about Frieza's overwhelming power, we knew the two's clash was inevitable. If Goku had confronted Frieza right off the bat, it wouldn't have really worked since we haven't really gotten a good gauge of either of their strengths. So having Goku take out Ginyu and be out of the picture for a while makes sense, and while his arrival here isn't all that special in comparison to the last two, the ensuing fight they have serves as a great subversion to what came before. Every other instance of Goku's big hero moments have him basically win with ease or match up against his opponents, and even if he was fighting against grunts like Nappa or Recoome, the bigger bad behind them like Vegeta and Ginyu were still somewhat manageable. Frieza is a whole other story though. It starts out relatively fine, but it becomes painfully clear later on that Goku, as he is now, is not enough to handle this. Given the precedents and expectations set by his previous arrivals, you couldn't be blamed for expecting that he might have something to match up against Frieza, but as the fight goes on, any kind of hope is gradually stripped away as we see Goku use every tool in his arsenal to no avail. What about his weighted gear? He doesn't have any. What about his Kaioken? He's already using it. What if he uses it at maximum power? Not enough. And Frieza? He's only using 50% of his power. I know Frieza's constant growth in power is kind of a meme, but damn, the paneling of Goku's realization really sells how hopeless this situation is. I could gush about Goku versus Frieza all day and how cathartic it was for Goku to finally beat him down as a Super Saiyan, and how meaningful the transformation itself is, but we'll get too off track if I do that. The overall point I'm trying to make here is that while the moment itself doesn't really mean much, the expectation set makes the gradual realization that Goku is no match for him all the more terrifying. The last time this trope is really used with Goku is with Cell. Kind of. The idea that Goku is everyone's last hope is so ingrained even in-universe that everyone is expecting him to have some sort of trick up his sleeve when he goes up against Cell. Which he does. It's his son. Instead of having Goku come out to save the day like all the other instances, Toriyama uses this trope one last time on him to pull out the rug from under us to give us Gohan the highlight of his career. Which is pretty neat. There's not much I can really say about this particularly, since Gohan stepping in is almost universally praised. There's not really much for me to add here. It's simply a clever subversion that left an impact. I hope I was able to properly explain why I personally like these moments and why they're a lot more interesting than people make them out to be. By the by, if you're wondering why I don't mention anything from the Buu arc, it's because their hero moments don't carry the same level of gravity or grandeur as the others do. They're mainly there as a gag. Anywho, I hope I was able to provide a cool new perspective on this trope. Thanks for watching.